Before we jump straight into the next video, please make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and turn on the bell for post notifications. I really appreciate people watching my videos and hope that it's being enjoyed. And let's move on to the next exciting topic, which is finally Israel's redemption from Egypt. After Makas Bechoros, which means the death of the firstborn, which was the last of the 10 plagues, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, ran to Moshe's home, fell on his knees, and begged Moshe to leave the country immediately and to take everyone with him. Moshe replied, "God told us to remain in our houses until morning. We will not be leaving Egypt in the night like burglars, but rather in the bright daylight for all to see. God exists and his miracles led us out of Egypt." But Pharaoh was very in a hurry, and Moshe wondered, "What's the rush?" Pharaoh replied, "I am the firstborn myself, and since all the firstborn just passed away in the plague, I fear that I will yet to die if you stay here any longer." Moshe answered, "Do not be afraid. God will sustain you so that you'll witness still more punishments." Pharaoh replied, "What can I do to end this plague?" Moshe responded, "Call out as loudly as you can that the children of Israel are free to leave Egypt." Pharaoh did so. It was finally the 15th of the Hebrew month of Nisan. Moshe has informed Israel that God told him, "Please tell the people that each one should ask his Egyptian neighbor for the gold, silver, and vessels. Thus the promise that I gave to their forefather Abraham, that they should go out of Egypt with great riches and wealth, shall be fulfilled." God was afraid that once granted freedom to leave Egypt, they would be too in a hurry to flee, and ignored the precept to go ask the Egyptians for their money. He therefore preceded it with a special request that this commandment be fulfilled. At first, the Egyptians denied it when being confronted, but when Israel insisted, they eventually gave them double portion, pushed them out to just get it and leave. People might wonder, was it okay for Israel to insist that the Egyptians give them money? Israel had the right to all the money that they received because of the property that they left behind when they have left Egypt, and they have worked for Pharaoh and were slaves for Pharaoh for 210 years without any payment whatsoever. All the hard and harsh labor was unpaid for. It was part of the punishment for the Egyptians that they would be forced to give away their fortune to Israel. While Israel was preoccupied with this, Moshe, on the other hand, was busy to try to find Yosef, previous ruler of Egypt who has long passed on, coffin, to bring it to final burial from Egypt, take it with him to Israel. When Yosef has passed away, his coffin was put in the Nile, and God has promised to Yosef that the Redeemer of Israel came obviously many years later, will take it with him when it's the time for their redemption. But Moshe obviously searched and couldn't find it. Moshe met Sarah, the daughter of Asher. Asher is one of the 12 tribes. She informs Moshe in which area is Yosef, her uncle's coffin, in the Nile. Moshe cried out, "Yosef, Yosef, the time has come for God to fulfill his oath to redeem Israel, and the time has come to fulfill our oath to you." Moshe then placed in the Nile a metal sheet with God's holy name on it, and the coffin arose. And thus Moshe took Yosef out of Egypt as well. Israel was joined by the Erev Rav, which were the best of the Egyptians. Although God wasn't too pleased at Moshe and was against these converts, yet Moshe insisted, since they have seen all the miracles in Egypt, if they decide to accompany Israel, they will be witnessing even more miracles and ultimately fully comprehending that there is no power besides God. Time finally came. Israel took no extra minute whatsoever. They left in the greatest hurry. They carried on their shoulders dough, which they had intended to let rise and bake. But there was literally no time. These doughs eventually turned into matzos. This is the reason why, till today, on Pesach, Passover, to commemorate the Exodus from Egypt, we eat matzos. A miracle occurred, and these matzos lasted enough for 30 days till the manna, the month, began to fall in the desert. Although Israel didn't know how they would survive the wilderness, but all of them, men, women, and children, followed Moshe with the greatest faith that God would provide and be with them. How do we apply this today? How is this relevant to us today? In every generation, there are the disbelievers, the atheists, skeptics, scoffers who deny the providence of God and attempt to persuade us that there is neither reward or punishment. God could easily disapprove of their claims by performing miracles, which would clearly demonstrate his existence and power. But should God cause a turmoil in the laws of nature for these kinds of people in every generation who doubt his existence? Instead, God chose to demonstrate his providence and might for once and for all by sending the 10 plagues upon Egypt and redeeming our forefathers. One who denies the exodus from Egypt denies God himself. One who acknowledges the exodus from Egypt admits the truth of God and his Torah. The events that took place before and during the Exodus prove a few things. Number one, God communicates with great men and appoints them as his prophets, as we clearly see from Moshe, that God spoke to him about the forthcoming plagues. Number two, God punishes the wicked, as we see what happened to the Egyptians. Number three, he guides the affairs of his world, as it is clear from the redemption when Israel was finally free. All of the above events were witnessed by our entire people. They're not only recorded in the Torah and transmitted by word of mouth from generation to generation, but in addition, God commands us to fulfill a great number of mitzvot, commandments, like saying the Shema, which in the Shema, it does speak about the Exodus, like wearing the tefillin and putting the mezuzot on our doorposts. Inside the mezuzot and the tefillin, there are teeny tiny scrolls which speak about the Exodus from Egypt. And finally, the most obvious, observing the holidays, Pesach, Passover, and Shavuot, the time of the giving of the Torah, all in the memory of what happened, and many, many more commandments. All of this to ensure us that the Exodus from Egypt and its miracles shall stay forever fresh in our minds. As it is stated in the Haggadah that we say by every Pesach Seder. If it wasn't for the exodus from Egypt, we and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren would have remained in Egypt to this day. But it's only because of God's promise that He will take us out of Egypt and bring us to Israel. All the miracles that He performed. This is the reason why that we are no longer in Egypt to this day. I'll end off by saying, just remember, the key to success in your life is first believing in yourself. See you in the next one.